So my name is Malia Ratliff, Esquire. My title is litigation associate. So there's in the law firm, there's partners and associates. So I'm an associate and I'm in the litigation department. And right now, as a first year, I pretty much just do whatever they need help with. So like currently I'm on this really big doc review assignment, which means I'm just like reviewing documents for discovery. I'm also drafting an opposition motion right now. I've done tons of research. It just kind of depends on what they need. But yeah, I just do whatever they ask me to do.
Okay, cool.
So I got into undergrad and I knew I wanted to go to law school. I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. So I'm like, okay, well, like this should be easy. I'm going to do pre-law, right? So I get there for orientation and, you meet with your advisor and he was like, okay, so what are you going to do? I'm like, oh, I'm going to do pre-law. And he's like, yeah, we don't have a pre-law major. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't like anything. Like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to do pre-law. He's like, well, I could put you on a pre-law track, but it didn't really mean anything. It just like had a designation on my transcript that said pre-law. But he's like, you still need to declare a major. And I was like, well, he's like, what are you interested in? I'm like, law? I don't know what else you want me to say. And so he starts describing. He's like, well, maybe you would like a social science. And so he just starts describing like psychology, philosophy, and sociology. And so he's telling me about sociology, and I'm like, okay, the study of people. I'm like, I like people, that sounds interesting. And I really was interested in like criminal justice, criminology. Mm-hmm. So I was like, well, is there a criminology major? And he's like, no, but there's a criminology track underneath the sociology major. So he told me, he's like, if you declare sociology, you can take all of the criminology electives, and they're working on the major. So hopefully by the time it gets approved, you'll still be here and you can just switch over. So I declared sociology as my major and I took all of the criminology electives, and that got approved. I think that either the end of my junior year is when my advisor was like, hey, this is coming out, so you can declare it next fall. But I finished my major like halfway through my junior year, and they were like, so you finished, and your financial aid will run out if you finish your major. Like, they won't give you anymore. So they're like, don't finish the major, don't take the last 2 classes, and declare another major. And I was like, I only have a year and a half of school left. Like, what major can I finish in a year and a half? So I declared ethics and public policy, which is basically a sample major. At Iowa, the way they do it, it samples 4 different majors. So it samples econ, poli-sci, sociology, and philosophy.
Okay.
So I'd already taken all the social classes. So I'm like, I already got that part done. And I just went through and took the rest of the classes. Philosophy was cool because they had one that actually helped me prepare for the LSAT, which is the admissions test to get into law school. So that was helpful. I hated econ. It was hard. I hated it. I hated it in high school. I hated it.
Econ is not fun. It's not fun.
It was so cool. It was hard. I was like, oh my gosh, it was so bad. I did econ and then poli-sci. I've never been interested in politics, but people always say like, oh, lawyers need to be involved. No, you don't. You don't. But I took it. So when I graduated, my degree said criminology, law and justice, and ethics and public policy. So technically, I was a criminology major, but I took like a lot of sociology classes, so I could have been a social major too.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And I just want to say one thing in the last question. You don't have to have a certain major to get into law school. I know that's a common misconception. It's not true. You can literally do anything. Like, you could be a food sciences major and say, I want to go to law school. You can go to law school. If you take the LSAT and you do well, you can go to law school. So it doesn't matter.
That's important information. Thank you for taking the time out for that.
So yeah, to answer your question, so when I first said I wanted to be a lawyer, it was for stupid reasons. It was like in middle school, I'm like, oh, I want to be a lawyer. Like, I loved Criminal Minds. I loved like Law and Order SVU. And I'm like, I want to do that. Like, I want to go in court and I like to argue and da-da-da-da-da. And so I got into high school and I'm like, yeah, I need to figure out what I actually want to do. And if I want to be a lawyer, you need a better reason for wanting to be a lawyer. So I did really want to help people, and I know that's such a cliche answer. That's what everyone says for the reason why they're in their position. But lawyers really do. They are really helpful, and I wanted to be helpful in a way that was impactful on someone's life down the road. So pretty much anyone could say that they're in a helping profession. You know, whether you're a cashier at a convenience store, you helped someone. But I want someone to be like down the line, you know what? Malia helped me, like they helped me get out that jam, or like I really was at my lowest point and I needed help. And so that was one of the major things. I'm like, okay, this is what I think that I can do with my passion. Like I want to help people. I want to like help people when they're at their lowest point and make them feel like, you know, this is not the end. Like I want to be that person to help walk them through this. So I went in, so I'm like, I want to be a lawyer. I talked to some lawyers. I did a job shadow, and one of the prosecutors who I job shadowed, he was just telling me about his job, and he was basically just confirming everything that I had already thought. And I'm like, okay, lawyers have a super big impact, just not necessarily on their clients, but just like the world as a whole. Like so many things that go on around us, lawyers had a hand in, and I just wanted to have some hand in making change in the world and in the individuals' lives. So that was my main reason. I like problem solving. That's a lot of what we do as lawyers. We're given an issue, you need to solve it in a creative way or in a straightforward way. You know, you're given the law and you basically need to figure out, okay, how can I apply this to my case? Like, how can I get the most favorable outcome for my client? So I really like that aspect of being a lawyer. That's kind of why I want to do it as well. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to, you know, be creative. They always say lawyers are liars, but we're just creative, you know. That's how life is, you know. You shift the facts to apply to your case. So I think it'd be a tie between two things. One, I would say the variety that I get right now. I don't know how much of a variety I'll have in a couple of years, like once I'm more established. But as a first-year associate, they give me everything. So I'm on a case right now, a product liability case where, you know, a product stopped working, it exploded, and so now I'm working on that case. I'm also on some trade secrets cases. I do patent litigation. I don't do patent litigation. I assist with it because I'm not a patent attorney. I don't know the first thing about patents. But they're like, hey, we need some help. Do you want to do this? And I'm like, why not? Like, sure, I'll take the experience. That's, you know,
opportunity to learn something.
Absolutely. So being able to be a big sponge right now, I feel like I've learned so much in like the 3.5 months that I've been at the firm. So that's definitely my favorite part about my role. Also, I like the creativity that comes with being a lawyer, and I touched on this a little bit in the last question. But like the law isn't just black and white. There's a ton of gray area, and that gives you room to be creative. And being able to come back to a partner and be like, hey, so I was looking at this didn't apply, but I did find this case, we might be able to stretch this to our favor. And being able to present that perspective to someone and be like, I didn't think about that. I really like that. It gives me a little bit of freedom to help my client and help the partner. And it's fun. You know, it's not like the traditional path that you would think. It's like, oh, well, let me think outside the box and see how else I can look at this. So I like that as well. So as a law student, this goes for law schools across the board. They usually want you to have a job your first summer and then a job your second summer. And usually the job that you're in your second summer will become your full-time job, at least for the first however many years, because that's when they give their offers out. And so that's how people secure employment after graduation. So when I started law school, I told you I was interested in criminal law. You know, Criminal Minds is my favorite show. I wanted to be a prosecutor because there aren't very many African-American prosecutors and not many female African-American prosecutors. And prosecutors are some of the most powerful lawyers, and they have the potential to make or break someone's life. And I wanted to be able to change someone's life for the better. So I'm like, okay, I want to be a prosecutor. Well, I get in and I'm like, I don't think I want to be a prosecutor anymore. I took some classes. I volunteered with the Innocence Project, which I loved. Absolutely loved volunteering with them. I'm still trying to get into that in Minnesota right now. But it weighed too much on me. The cases I was looking at, I was taking it home with me every day. And I knew that if I made this a full-time career, I would have a really hard time separating work and my personal life. And I'm like, okay, I can't do this. I don't think this is something I can do full-time. So I also, when I got to law school, I'm like, I'm never going to be in a law firm. Those are the stuck-up people. I don't like them. I don't want to be like them. Well, here I am. So I needed a job, and they're like, well, what are you interested in? And I described like what I was interested in, and they're like, okay, well, what else do you like? And I took torts, and torts is basically like product liability, personal injury, things like that, like things that happen to us every day. If you trip on the sidewalk or something, or someone pushes you, like the civil side of that is torts, and I liked that type of work. So they're like, okay, well, you can still do that in a law firm. I'm like, oh wait, I thought they just did like, mergers and acquisitions. Like they do actual normal things too. And they're like, yeah. So I was like, okay, cool. So I started looking and applying for jobs, and I actually applied for jobs that had diversity fellowships, because as a first-year law student, no matter what race you are, it's extremely hard to break into that market. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to figure out a way for me to get into that market, especially being a law student with, I wasn't like top 5% of my class. So I'm like, all right, I need to figure out a way for me to get in somehow. So I started applying to diversity fellowships, which I highly recommend. So I got a diversity fellowship in Minneapolis my first summer. I worked with the firm that I'm at right now for 8 weeks. And then for 2 weeks, I worked in-house at a corporation. And I quickly realized I don't want to be in-house, at least not with that place, because I hated what I was doing. I was just doing non-disclosure agreements all day, and it was really boring. But I love the firm. Everyone was super nice, and they're like, oh, do you want to do litigation or transactional? And I'm like, I just want to do whatever you have for me. I don't really know. I've never worked in a law firm. And so they said they really liked that about me, because I was just, willing to do whatever. And I was able to get experience and figure out what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. So that was my first summer. After the end of that summer, I got an offer to come back as a second-year associate, or a summer associate for my second year. So I went back, and that was the summer of 2019. And then I worked full-time at the firm, and I told them that I like to do litigation. So they moved me down to the litigation floor, and I did pretty much only litigation projects. So then after that summer ended, they extended a full-time offer to come back after graduation. So I took the bar, and then once I passed the bar, I found out the day that I started that I passed the bar. So that was either going to be a really terrible day or a really great day. When they told me that I was starting that day, because of COVID, we would have started earlier, and then they pushed our start date back to January, and then they moved me back to October because okay, well, we have people going on maternity leave, we need Malia. They told me that. They also told us today we got our bar results, and they coincided, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. My mom's like, you're going to be fine, you're going to pass. And I'm like, but if I don't, then I have to go in the firm and tell them I didn't pass, and I don't know what to do. It was fine. But yeah, that's how I came to my current position. So I pretty much just looked online. You can go to your career advisors at the law school, but there are, I don't know how many law students in that school. So they're busy with a lot of people. I utilized the upperclassmen, asked them what types of jobs that they did, and had them send me links. My friends and I created a spreadsheet. I had different locations, different application deadlines, and I just started filling out applications and seeing firms that had things that I was interested in, and I kind of just went from there. It's okay to not solely focus on school. That's what I did. At least my first couple of years, I was so geared on my I'm like, I need to go to law school. I need to get in school. And so for the first 2 years, I didn't involve myself in anything. I had friends, I went to events and stuff, but I didn't join any organizations quickly. And looking back on my experience, if I could change it, I absolutely will. I absolutely would, because I think that organizations are such an impactful part of your career as an undergrad student. I know so many connections that I made once I joined my sorority and once I joined other organizations. I would not be where I'm at if I didn't have that organization or have those people that I met. So I would definitely 100% tell students to join organizations that you're interested in. Don't be afraid to, do extracurriculars. It's definitely like, I think everybody that I talked to are like, yeah, I did at least one activity while I was an undergrad, if not more. Because I realized like I didn't do that much while I was an undergrad, I got to law school. I was in every organization. Like I was probably in like 4 or 5, which is the opposite of what people do. They're like, oh, you're in law school, you probably don't do anything. And I'm like, no, I'm the president of this organization, this one. I'm a student ambassador. I'm also this, and this. And they're like, how did you have to do that? And I'm like, well, I don't have any experience, any legal experience, and I went straight through, so I need to do something. But yeah, definitely join that organization. If you want to be in Pizza Club, join Pizza Club. If you want to be in the pre-law society, join the pre-law society, make those connections, make those friends, because you never know how you'll use them in the future. Yeah, so my first semester, everybody, when you go to college, you'll realize everybody is always on like whatever your center of your campus is, they're gonna be there handing out flyers the first like 2 weeks, like, hey, join this. And I'm like, can you leave me alone? Like, I'm just trying to find my next class.
Or bribe you with free food and whatnot.
Yep. And then I couldn't tell you how many events I went to because they had free pizza, and like I was a broke college student, so yeah, I'm gonna go. So let's see, I was going to join mock trial. They scared me, so I didn't do it. And then I was going to join, there was another one I was going to join, and I didn't do it. So my first 2 years, I was a student, and I'm like, this is not it. I was interested in Greek life, and I was trying to figure out more about it, so I was going to Greek events. My junior year, I joined my sorority, and then my senior year, I was like, well, there's no point in me doing it. I was really not even on campus. I was filling out applications for law school, things like that. Don't be like me. Do other things. But I will tell you what I was involved in law school, because I think that if I could be this involved in undergrad, I would have. So when I got to law school, I joined a pro bono project my first semester. People were like, oh, you're gonna have time for that? I don't know, but I made time. I joined the Black Law Students Association. I was in, what's it called? BSU. I was in BSU in undergrad. I forgot. That's the Black Students Union. Mm-hmm. I was in BSU, but that was it. I joined the pre-law fraternity in law school. So what, I'm at 3 now. My second year, I became a student ambassador. So they're basically like the faces of the law school. We give tours. We work events and things like that. We work homecoming, all that stuff. We work tailgates that the law school holds. So I was a student ambassador. What else did I do? Did I say Balsa? That's the.
No.
I don't think so. So that was the Black Law Student Association. I joined that my first semester. I was a 1L rep my first year, and then my second year I was vice president. Yes, I was vice president. And then my third year, I was the treasurer. So I did that. What else did I do? I was the vice president of the pre-law fraternity that I joined. And I also, I can't remember, but I did a lot in law school, and it's possible. I did a lot. I did the clinic, and yeah, something is escaping me, and it's fine. But I did a lot in law school, and if I could have done that stuff in undergrad, I would have as well. So anything that I just mentioned, I would have gotten involved in undergrad if someone had told me like it's okay to do other things other than school. But I was so worried about my grades, and I'm like, I'm not going to get into law school if I don't have like stellar grades, so I need to just focus on school. Don't do that. Get involved for sure. And get involved in law school too. Like, it's definitely possible.
Mm-hmm.
Go talk to lawyers. Go seek out anyone who is in that field, or someone who is like a pre-law advisor. Just go talk to them, because I think that speaking with that prosecutor in undergrad who went on to become my mentor who went on to write my letter of recommendation. He was so influential in my path to where I'm at right now that I probably wouldn't be here without him. So make those connections early. If you know, like me, like that you want to go into law, go find those people, seek those people out. And we're always willing to take in new mentors. If you want, Savon can give them my information. I'll talk to you. You don't even need to like keep an ongoing relationship with them, but just talking to them about what they do and how they were successful and how they were able to get to where they are, I think is super important.